This is the video review of Hello Carbot Pentastorm. If you don't know what Hello Carbot is, I can't really blame you. Hello Carbot is basically Sonokong's answer to Tobots. This is another Korean thing. If you don't know what Sonokong is, basically, if you're ever trying to find any Brave stuff, you're going to be finding, at decent prices at least, Sonokong releases of Brave stuff. They're not knockoffs, they are licensed for Korea, and they tend to have bad quality control, even though the materials and the molds are good. So anyway, that's Sonokong, that's Hello Carbot. Here are the toys. Now all of these cars here kind of follow the same pattern that all of the Tobot combiners did. So for example, here is Deltatron. This car here has an actual toy counterpart that has a robot mode. Same with this one, same with this one. But for the combiner, they don't have that. And the same kind of thing happens here. There is a toy for this vehicle, for this vehicle, for this vehicle, and I don't know about this vehicle because I have never seen a Hello Carbot toy on eBay that has that car design. So, looking at this one, this is the Avante police cruiser figure, and I do have this one. I will show it to you sometime in the future when I get to the Hello Carbot stuff, to the other stuff. I got this guy very recently. I just fell in love with him. I just wanted to show him to you real fast. Because like I have other stuff that I want to show before I get to the Hello Carbot stuff. Anyway, this is the Avante police cruiser, and it's quite nice. There's not too much to it though, and we'll put it off to the side. Here is the S.W.A.T car. It's kind of the same thing, just this one loves to roll off the table. I've taken several takes and it tries to fall off every time. It wants to commit suicide. Arrgh! Anyway, back to the S.W.A.T car. It's basically kind of the same as the Avante police cruiser, just black and a slightly different car mold, but quite nice. Here is the suicidal somehow fire truck. And this one is based on the Santa Fe R model. The funny thing about Hello Carbot is, at least by the eBay auctions I've seen, and none of these characters have names beyond just whatever the car model is. So this is Santa Fe Fire Rescue or something like that. The copy of the big version of this car that I have is called the Santa Fe R. Anyway, there's not too much to it. The wheel here, since this one becomes a foot later on in the combination, these are supposed to go in, but you can hear the ratchet on this one, not on this one. It doesn't really hurt the car any because, like, if you move the car side to side, the wheel doesn't move in, but anyway, there's that one. I have to wedge it so it won't fall. Then here's this one, which is based on the Starex Dandy Ambulance Hello Carbot figure, and it's a big chunky ambulance. It's basically the same kind of mold as this one is, just like the two police cars are kind of the same, except of course a mirror so it can be the other foot. And that's about it for this guy. And now we're going to look at the main event, the Trago Xcient 25.5T. Whatever that means. This guy has basically two robot modes. He has the robot mode that's just a standalone thing, since, like, these things don't have robot modes, but this guy does have an original robot mode. Like, of the set, this is the original character, who then forms Pentastorm with the other guys. So, the naming convention for all of these guys has been just whatever the car model is. So for this guy by himself and in his solo robot mode, I'm going to just call him Exiant. If that's wrong, if you know more about Hello Carbot than I do, please feel free to drop me a line, tell me I'm wrong, but for now, for our purposes, just calling him Exiant I think is sufficient. So anyway, to transform this guy, we're going to take this little section here, going to pop it up, and just move the tires. So I think that was off camera. Move it off to the side. Because this guy gets so big, my camera, I've raised it really high, so it's not at an angle where I'm usually comfortable with. But anyway, once you do that, you can then take the back section here and bring the legs down like this, and the ratchets on this thing are so lovely. Then we'll take the feet, bring them down like that, and those are his legs straight, and then we can start seeing most of the robot mode here, because like the chest and head are just right there. Now next thing we're going to do, is we're going to come back here, we're going to split the back here, these will form the arms, and then we're going to do something kind of interesting. We're going to take these, we're going to rotate them up like this. When we rotate these up, there's this little tab right there that comes under the armpit so that this no longer can come down, and that's a really neat locking mechanism. Then we're going to take the front of the cab here, rotate it up to get it out of the way, rotate this section down, and then we're going to push this, just going to fold that down. And then we're going to take the arms, rotate them up like this. We're going to take the hands and bring them down like that. We're going to split the legs. If any of that was off camera, I apologize. This guy is very big. But anyway, this is Exiant in his robot mode, and I have to say I'm not super thrilled with the way he looks. I mean, he looks okay, but he's just kinda busy. Like, I like the chrome, and I really like his head sculpt here, which, because of the way that his head is kind of shadowed, will be hard to show off, but it's a nice head sculpt. I like the chrome on the mouthpiece. But I'm just not super thrilled with the way he looks. For how much I paid for this guy, which is about 200 bucks, and most of that was shipping because there's so much wasted space in the box. He's just not that interesting. Like, I've seen this before. I've seen this with the Transformers movie. I much prefer the Tobot aesthetics, where it's a big, pillowy robots that have lots of character, whereas this is more like just a cold, unfeeling CAD drawing, and that's the way he comes off to me, at least. So he looks okay. He's just not something that I would buy for himself. Now, for articulation, this guy actually has pretty good articulation. The head can rotate around 360 degrees, although it's very tight and getting your fingers in there is kind of hard. The arms rotate around 360 on these really nice ratchets. Go in and out. Nice ratchets. Rotate above the elbow, and he has a double jointed elbow too. Although this kind of gets in the way. And this will get away a lot when we get to the combined mode. So, and then the legs down here go forward, back, in, out. And these panels right here are kind of annoying, but they kind of spring load out of the way a little bit. You can bring them down to the side if you really want to, but then they like to pop back up. Then he has those delicious knees. And then these really nice ankle joints, and you also can rotate above the knee, so that's really nice too. If that was off screen, there it is again. Like, the problem is just I'm having to lean around my camera to deal with the guy, and then I can't see the little monodrive on the camera. So if anything goes off camera, just let me know. And well, actually, don't let me know. I'll watch a video and see if it goes off camera. But anyway, moving on. That is Exiant in his robot mode. Now we need to get him prepared for the final combination, which is actually pretty cool what we need to do. What we're going to do is we're going to take his big backpack section here. We're going to, and it's on a very tough ratchet. Like, it doesn't click, but it's very strong. We're going to bring it up like this. I'm going to rotate the arms down like that. And you can already see this guy's gaining substantial height. Come on, focus, camera, focus. And then we're going to take this top section here, and we're going to rotate it back like this. And then there are some tabs here and here that this section is going to go down on like that. And here we kind of have a second robot mode. And this robot mode, he's disproportionate. Like, his hands are minuscule, even though the legs look fine. But he's disproportionate, but otherwise, I kind of prefer this robot mode to the original. Except that he looks too much like Pentastorm, because this is basically the core of Pentastorm. And I like that he has two robot modes, so... Except that this mode exists for Pentastorm, I would like this as just the normal robot mode, because I do think this looks pretty cool here. And I love how the abdomen right here is the chest of the Exiant robot mode. Now we're going to put him off to the side, and we're going to start dealing with the small guys of the set. So first one we're going to deal with is this guy, the little ambulance. So we're going to pop this off. We're going to take these wings, pull them out, and then pull these up on these weird double hinges here. And this will be a jetpack. We'll take Pentastorm, and there's a little hole here and a clip right here. We'll put them together like that, and here we have him with his jetpack. It's a very pilly jetpack for how big this guy gets. Sorry, I had to move the light. Now, what we need to do with this guy is we need to pop the side panels here out. And I actually have a kind of an issue with these. It's not a big issue. It's easy to fix with a slightly alternate transformation, but I do have a bit of an issue with these I'll talk about later. Then we're going to come up here, we're going to pop this up here, and it's hard to get a grip on it because of it's clear plastic, and I don't want to grip on the windows in case they break, but it's about the only good place you can grip on them. And then you want to get your fingers in and pull this section out here, and they're going to come to the bottom and take these wheels and collapse them down like that so you can have an angled stance on it. And then this is the first foot. They're going to take that suicidal fire rescue car thing. They're going to push the wheels in here, pop this up, pop this up, pop these out. Basically the exact same thing, except you're going to pull this out too and move that forward. So there we have the 2 feet. We're going to take Pentastorm, bring him in. We're going to take the toes here and rotate them up, and then we're going to take this little section here with this little hole here, and we're going to slide it into right here, and then there's this little white tab right in there, and this is getting very cumbersome, and then we're going to plug it in, going to slide it in, and then we're going to collapse the front of the vehicle in, and that will lock it all into place. Kinda, it still moves here, but then we'll come to the back. There are 2 little clips on the back of the legs, and then the roofs of the car will peg in, and that's a very solid connection. It is not going anywhere. Now the problem I have with these is that they just make his instep not flat, so the way you solve that is just push that forward, and it's still not flat because it kind of angles out a little bit, but it's flat enough for how big this guy is. So next we'll do the same thing with this side. We'll slide this in, collapse this in, so just the same thing, and then we'll tab this in, and then we'll take the inside car panel here, slide it forward, and there we have the legs done. So basically they just turned to shoes. And actually these guys have a little extra feature here. If you lift these up, Topeka. Anyway, moving on. Now we'll move up to the arms here. What we're going to do is we're going to take these cars, we're going to pop off the tops like this, and then there are 2 holes here, here, and here. They go onto little tabs here and here. Then we'll take the hand, rotate it around, press this button, pull this out, and then we'll put that off to the side. We'll do the same thing to the other police car. We'll pop this up like this. Hole, tab, and then we'll put it down. I like to bring this out a little bit, and then we'll rotate around, rotate the fist around, press the button here, pull it out, and here we have the second arm. So these are basically gauntlets. So the way they work is there is this little section here on the arm, this little tab, and there's this little slot in here for the tab to go in. So you put it in like this, and then you will bring this up around and clip it into place. And it's not the most confidence-inspiring connection in the world because it ends up being a little bit floppy, but it will hold. It is a solid connection. It just doesn't feel solid the first couple of times you do it. It took me looking at the mechanism and putting it together in my mind to really understand that it really was a solid connection, because it just, the first time you do it doesn't feel solid, but it is solid. We'll do the same to the other side. We'll basically the tab there goes into the slot there, and then you bring this together, and here we have Pentastorm in his final combined robot mode. From the feet all the way up to the head, this guy is massive! Now, he's not the most massive thing I have ever reviewed. That dubious honor goes to Ingeno G12 formation from Gowanger. Instead, this guy gets a very similar and still impressive designation. He is the He is the largest figure I've ever reviewed that has a lot of posability. Because like, for most things, like for any Power Ranger thing this size, it's not going to have any posability except maybe in the arms, and then it's going to be super weak. Because the Power Rangers, the reason Power Rangers doesn't have a lot of posability is just so stuff doesn't come apart, so they don't have to worry about making solid ratchets for it. This guy, this ratchet up here, holds all this weight, no problem. Now the elbows can't hold the weight very well at all. They're kind of weak, so like moving the arm. Well, it didn't happen that time, but what will happen sometimes is, okay, so I bent his elbow, and I bring his arm up. It starts to straighten out. That's because the shock of moving that ratchet moves that ratchet down, and so the elbows aren't that great, but you do get some elbow articulation, and otherwise the arms are the exact same, except that you also get a wrist swivel now, for whatever that's worth. You could like put like pencils and stuff in his hand. Next we can take a look at his head, which is very nice. I really, really like this head. The head can rotate around 360 degrees, much easier than the Xcient head did. And then moving down to the feet. The feet, or the legs, are mostly the same as before with Xcient, except he loses the ankle tilt. But he doesn't really need it anymore because he has these giant feet, and he has and he can make up for it with the thigh swivel. So anyway, the legs still go forward and back, and they will, well, they'll hold when he's standing, even though like this, it's a bit dubious. They will hold like that too. Well, if you don't shake it. The ratchets are in a weird place where they're good enough, but they won't exactly hold it. Basically, the problem with anything this big, you either get ratchets that are impossible to move unless you feel like you're breaking the figure, or they can't really hold up all the mass of the stuff. So these ratchets end up working pretty well. Then you can rotate at the thigh still. You still get that big knee bend. And that's about it. So he ends up having a lot of posability for his size. Like, I can't think of anything this size that has more posability. And like, he can pose. Let me get him into a pose real quick. And it's going to suck trying to reach around the camera to do it, so. And the thing that's kind of weird about this guy is that if you have him just standing straight, he's big, but it's hard to comprehend how big he is until you start posing around and you see how he carries his body. So, yeah, this guy's just so big, and he poses so well. Like, he poses basically as well as Deltatron does. And speaking of which, let's start with the size comparisons with the other giant Korean combiners. So, here's Deltatron, who, even when this guy is hunched over a little bit, barely comes up to the Hyundai logo. And I will not be able to get stuff comfortably in camera. It's just not a reality with how big these guys are. So there's Deltatron. Next we have Quadrant. And if you don't know what Deltatron looks like, there he is. Go watch the video review of him. He's an awesome figure, and I definitely recommend picking him up. Next is Quadrant, who is a little bit bigger. When this guy is straight, the top of Quadrant's head comes up to the Hyundai logo. And, yeah, I'm just so in love with this guy because of just how big and imposable he is. Like, I don't like him more than Deltatron, but he's good. I like him a lot. So that's basically Pentastorm here. I do highly recommend him, but there are two issues with this guy. The first issue I have is I'm not entirely in love with the way he combines, because basically he's just Exiant with some armor stuff. Like, I like how he gets the new chest, but it's more like this is still just Exiant, but with gauntlets and shoes. That's the extent of the combination. So the overall figure is great, but the combination isn't that interesting. It's not like a Deltatron, which is 3 cards, which are all kind of small, that expanded into this giant guy. Deltatron has a great transformation, or a great combination. This guy, not so much. But the overall figure, the overall experience of this is great. So, that's the first problem. The second problem is this guy costs about $200. And a lot of that is the shipping, because there is so much wasted space in the box. Like, this guy's huge, and then there's like half a foot on each side of him that's empty space in the box. And it is kind of ridiculous. So the shipping costs take the price from, I think he would probably go for about $140 on eBay normally, and I assume that's with markup. I don't know what he would retail for in Korea. But then there's like $60 shipping on top of it. So if you want this guy, you gotta really, really want this guy. Otherwise, I can't recommend him just because he costs as much as Masterpiece Star Saber, for example, or Masterpiece Ultra Magnus, for example. So, at that price range, he starts competing with some other stuff that is really, really good that people really, really like. So that's kind of an issue with him. So I like him a lot. And if you have the same taste as I do, like if you love all these giant Korean transforming combiner robots that are just awesome, better than anything Takara or Bandai have put out in years, then yeah, definitely go for him. But if it's not quite your cup of tea, then I would maybe wait for a really good deal on eBay or something. Set them on your set Hello Carbot Pentastorm onto your following searches on eBay or something like that. But yeah, he overall is just a really nice figure. A couple of tiny flaws, a couple of a little bit bigger flaws, but otherwise, I like him a lot. So anyway, I review Tobots, Transformers, Hello Carbots now. This is the first, I'll get to the other ones. Digimon, Space Leader stuff, lots of stuff like that. If any of that sounds interesting, please subscribe, and thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.